seen this weather, and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature has half an hour ago. Mexican officials closed the border in the light of so many U.S. refugees.
We prepare to go live to Los Angeles.
Are you getting it on camera? What you see is happening now.
Look over there behind me! That's a tornado! A twister!
This is just massive.
This is an unprecedented hurricane in terms of the strength of the storm. Well, what is really unusual about this storm is that it did undergo explosive intensification over the past 24 hours or so. And so it is now, I think, the strongest storm in terms of the peak winds that the Hurricane Center's ever made a forecast for. And the other thing that's really interesting is that there was just such an inability, such a failure on the part of the computer models to predict this ultimate intensity. Now, it's very hard for models to predict such an extreme event like this, but it's still breathtaking to see a system like this.
Breaking this morning on The Lift, Hurricane Patricia, now the strongest hurricane ever recorded. It's projected to impact Mexico's Puerto Vallarta region as a Category 5 storm today, packing winds of up to 200 miles per hour. This conjures up memories of Hurricane Odile in 2014. The Category 3 storm slamming Mexico's Baja Peninsula. This video showing a hotel lobby being torn apart. Thousands of tourists were trapped in hotels, left without power after all was said and done, causing more than $1 billion in damage. Let's get the latest from meteorologist Dominica Davis down in Atlanta. Dominica, so what do we know right now?
Well, what we know, Al, is that this storm with the latest advisory is now packing winds of 200 miles per hour. Let's time it out and show you when we're expecting landfall. Now, it's early evening, around 5 o'clock, and the projected path is going to be somewhere between Puerto Vallarta and Manzanillo. So they will be very important areas to watch along the coast over the next several hours. Now, here's the exact forecast track. Want to point out by midday, this hurricane strengthens one more time just before landfall with winds of 205 miles per hour. That is going to be catastrophic. Rain is just part of the picture, up to a foot possible right along the coast.
I want to get more on this. So, Dave, have you ever seen a storm like this move this fast into something like this?
No, I spent 3 years down in Miami, as a matter of fact, and we looked at hurricanes mostly coming in off the Atlantic and the Caribbean, but this thing has grown faster, gotten stronger than ever before, so anything it does now really just kind of keeps it on that unprecedented level. You can see the very well-formed eye, obviously, working to the north now at around 12 miles an hour. It's very close to landfall here. It will make landfall technically when the eye gets over the coast there, but it's already ravishing the southwest coast there of Mexico. So here's some of the stats that we were talking about in that package just a bit ago. Strongest on record ever in the Western Hemisphere. The 200-mile-per-hour winds are in a very small area, about 15 miles wide. but that's the most catastrophic area, obviously. The gusts have been to 245 miles an hour. That would wipe out anything in its path. And as it moves to the north here, the action being perpendicular to a lot of the coastline on the east side is going to have a tremendous storm surge with this as well. Pressure-wise, 879 millibars. We're not used to thinking that way. We usually talk around 29.5 to 30.5 inches of mercury for our pressure here. So we're talking 5 inches less than that, which is, again, the strongest, or in this case, the lowest pressure ever recorded in the Western Hemisphere. So Hurricane Patricia just absolutely exploded overnight. Now, we don't get a lot of data from this part of Mexico. You can see Acapulco well off to the south there. Wind gusts going to be around 40 or 50 now as it nears the shore there. Here's a quick look at the path now. Puerto Vallarta over here and falling apart very quickly by tomorrow morning in the mountain regions, and by tomorrow evening down to just a storm. So it looks like the moisture will get to the southwest U.S., but it's not going to be a huge problem with any kind of wind issue at all. The storm will be torn up by
Patricia
Mexico's
is
mountains
expected to hit is a pretty popular vacation destination. The airport in Puerto Vallarta is already closed. The Now's Rachel Lato joining us now with how this could affect travel plans for some people headed that way, leaving.
Well, check out this map. So this is actually every plane that's up in the air. So you can see like Galveston, Dallas, Fort Worth, lots and lots of flights up here. And then you get down here to the western coast of Mexico, and there's not a lot of planes. That is worrisome for travelers who have booked vacations to the area. Mary Hurley Lane with Eileen's Travel says not all hope is lost. She says airlines may not penalize travelers, but instead of getting your money back, airlines may issue some travelers a credit. She also says it's too early to tell how the storm will affect vacations planned for the holiday and even spring break.
I wouldn't make any specific changes until after the storm has come through and there's been an assessment of the situation, especially if you've chosen one of the resorts that are maybe right in the path of the storm.
Now, Mary says travelers may be able to get some deals for a couple of months as cleanup from the storm begins, but she reminds everyone to buy travel insurance in case anything like this happens. Ashley?
All right, Rachel, thanks so much.
Still waiting. We are now sitting. What? Everybody's calm. And are you calm?
It's time to batten down the hatches along the tourist strip in Manzanillo, Mexico. One hotel owner described all he's doing to get ready.
Taking down all the signs for the hotel, the advertising, anything that was in storage, rope it down, tie it down. We're draining the pool in case the ocean crests over the retaining wall. A little later, we're gonna tape up all the windows in case they shatter.
He's been so busy there hasn't been much time to worry, but he did manage to squeeze that in between preparations.
I was worried last night. I didn't get a lot of sleep.
These seas are already beginning to rage. These buildings will shortly be battered. It won't be possible for tourists to stroll along the beach. Hurricane Patricia is on its way.
It's very probable that this hurricane will effectively be the most intense hurricane that has existed in this part of the Pacific in our country since records began in 1949.
This is an historic storm in many ways, the strongest ever recorded in the Pacific, the fastest ever to develop, but residents have been given some time to prepare.
I'm doing well here with my mother. They had told us it was going to be Category 4, and after monitoring, it's been raised to Category 5. So now they've told us there will be protections, special sites where people can stay.
We really didn't buy that much because they regularly say that a hurricane will come, but sometimes they don't hit. That's why I think the majority don't participate that much.
Experts say this is not a storm to take lightly.
Mexico has a lot of mountains. The terrain is very high. That causes the storms to weaken very quickly. But then in turn, that amplifies the rainfall. So typically when storms make landfall in Mexico, most of the damage and casualties are associated with flooding from rainfall.
It's hard to imagine what wind gusts up to 400 kilometers per hour would feel like, the damage it could cause. But meteorologists say hundreds of thousands of people are about to find out as a Category 5 hurricane comes ashore.